Dear friends, welcome to the United Lodge of Theosophy, Washington, D.C. Today's talk will be on gratitude. We are meeting every first Sunday of the month in the new lodge's location in Manassas. And next Sunday we'll continue with a Google Meet meeting, so please join us there. The policy of this lodge is independent devotion to the cause of Theosophy without professing attachment to any Theosophical organization. It is loyal to the great founders of the Theosophical movement but does not concern itself with dissension or differences of individual opinion. And today's talk will be on, again, gratitude, and we will start with the reading from the Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 4, Devotion through Spiritual Knowledge. So back to Bhagavad-Gita, Devotion through Spiritual Knowledge. Some devotees give sacrifice to the gods, while others, lighting the subtler fire of the Supreme Spirit, offer up themselves. Still others make sacrifice with the senses, beginning with hearing, in the fire of self-restraint, and some give up all sense, delighting sounds, and others again, illuminated by spiritual knowledge, sacrifice all the functions, all the senses and vitality in the fire of devotion through self-constraint. There are also those who perform sacrifice by wealth given in alms, by mortification, by devotion, and by silent study. Some sacrifice the up-breathing in the down-breath, and the down-breathing in the up-breathing by blocking up the channels of inspiration and expiration, and others by stopping the movement of both the life breath, still others by abstaining from food, sacrifice life in their life. All these different kinds of worshippers are by their sacrifices purified from their sins, but they who partake of the perfection of spiritual knowledge arising from such sacrifices pass into the eternal Supreme Spirit. But for him who makes no sacrifices, there is no part, no lot in this world. How then shall he share in the other, O best of the Kurus? And now I'd like to welcome the speaker for this talk.
Thank you, friends. Like the first speaker said, today's talk is on sacrifice. Later this month, families will gather to celebrate Thanksgiving Day. Thanksgiving is a federal holiday in the United States, celebrated every fourth Thursday of November. This is a special day set aside to show gratitude for one's blessings. The truly thankful show gratitude on this day and every day. The term gratitude has been defined as recognition of benefits received. But recognition is largely a mental process. Gratitude is essentially a heart quality. So, number one, gratitude is the action of Buddhi-Manas. Recognition and appreciation, the interplay of heart and mind. This dual energy of gratitude finds expression towards superiors, or those who bestow benefits, towards inferiors, or those who crave wisdom, peace, power, or other possessions viewed to be held by superiors, and towards equals, where giving and taking become balanced. The term inferior pertains not only to human beings, but to all kingdoms below the human as well. Number three, it is the opportunity to serve that should evoke our gratitude. If we accept the fundamental truth that all life is one and live accordingly, our sympathy is awakened. The cultivation of, number four, sympathy in and for the good of others is as important for the growth and the evolution of character as is the elimination of selfishness. And Theosophy talks about selfishness a lot. We have to get rid of that. Regarding all life as one, we recognize and appreciate the life-giving sun and the beneficent rain, the productive earth, and the invigorating air. We find sermons and psalms, their strength and stability magnified into mountains, impress us with peace and power. Fruits and vegetables give sustenance to the body. Flowers and trees bring joy and beauty into life with color and perfume and shade. The animal kingdom has its usefulness to man. Even harmful animals convey a useful and wholesome lesson, for they are the product of man's furies and passions and fears. Among our own kind, those who serve us are entitled to all the help and guidance we can give them. And who does not serve in some way? Number 5. Well, what's number 5? Let's see what. Okay, please. Thank you. 2 edits. There you go. Number 5. Life is, or should be, a constant exchange of benefits. Even if only an encouraging word, or a simple thank you, or a smile. Further up the scale of humanity, there are those to whom we listen for knowledge and help and inspiration. Are they not entitled to recognition and appreciation of benefits received? While the self in each one of us is the real teacher, yet there are those who have pointed to the way of knowledge of the real self. If it were not for them, the way would have remained hidden in the deep, dark forest of superstition and ignorance. Their messengers proclaim the fact that there is a way. They worked ceaselessly, suffered and died to bring before us the self-evident facts concerning the way, the truth, and the life. Recorded in the writings, they have left as legacy to all mankind. Earnest theosophists, those who desire spiritual development above all things, those who are eager to make theosophy a living power in their lives, should pause here and reflect upon the altar of their hearts. They should make the sacrifice of selfish and uncharitable thoughts and desires, and upon that same altar offer up a devout recognition and appreciation of benefits received. Through the vast perspective opened by the doctrine of karma and its twin doctrine, reincarnation, the scales of life show the justice obtaining in all things. These scales are balanced to a feather's weight. Whatsoever a man is reaping, that must he also have sown. It is taught that on this account there is never valid ground for complaint. On the other hand, nothing is more strongly exemplified in the great ones than gratitude. Theosophy suggests no list of cardinal virtues or mortal sins. But if it did, gratitude might well head the list of virtues, and ingratitude in the list of mortal sins. Ingratitude is not counted merely as a defect, but as a crime in occultism. The master custodians of the secret wisdom have declared it not one of their vices. That gratitude is a moral requisite every normal person knows. Obviously, gratitude is of the soul, but Theosophy safeguards heart knowledge with head understanding, leaving no why unanswered. Why need there be thankfulness upon receiving what is but just repayment? Much of the answer lies in the fact that, number 10, nothing can come of itself. Consideration of the necessary agencies involved shows lines of service converging from all directions and from many remote places. A host is employed in bringing each harvest home. In fact, number 11, our own could not have been even earned without brotherly assistance. In this transaction, there is interchange of a more subtle sort. The feeling of the recipient is transmitted back along the living channels through which the boon has come. When the karmic compensation is snatched from the hands of its donors without gratitude, all the lives engaged are chilled. They are cheated of remuneration for the service rendered. They are robbed of nourishment. They are made less potent for the bearing of blessings, more potent for the transmission of retributive karma. Nature demands a price for all received, even well-earned wages. Sincere gratitude is due for everything enjoyed. So the ancient Bhagavad-Gita enjoins that there be mutual nourishing between man and the gods who minister to his needs. The Gita says, "He who enjoyeth what hath been given unto him by them, and offereth not a portion unto them, is even as a thief." Gratitude, then, is none other than the very heart of reciprocity. Gratuity means that which is given freely, without strain or without grudging. Even so it is with genuine, number 12, gratitude, that springs up spontaneously like spiritual knowledge. Indeed, it is a phase of spiritual knowledge itself. Gratitude vitalizes and impels toward harmonious action. Through joyous recognition of duty, that which is due, that which is owed. It partakes of loyalty and devotion, justice and mercy. No action above the lower planes of being can be imagined unless gratitude is present. Gratitude is so inextricably interwoven with all constructive action that there could be no raising up of the lives on the lower planes when gratitude is lacking. Gratitude warms the whole nature toward the bearer of the gift or the one extending service, so that the gift or service itself is practically forgotten. Gratitude means the aroma of the gift is received. The spirit of the giver is contacted. Then the cold contradiction of ingratitude, wherein heart light dies. Selfishness deadens, and just the mere outer shell of the gift of the material benefits of the sacrifice remain. All the precious nectar of gratitude remains untasted. Far-reaching is the shadow cast by an ungrateful heart. Against it, all nature's voice is raised in protest. Strangely enough, the ungrateful are the people most prone to seek favors. Yet a favor, once availed of, is belittled into nothingness, while accusation of ulterior motives is freely made. Eagerness to render service is a stirring of the indwelling divinity, while the pitfalls encountered are dug by that demon, ingratitude. Ingratitude is alien to the evolutionary plan. Modern commercial and industrial systems suffer from the blight. People are far too often plundered and exploited on all sides by appeal of their noblest traits. Of necessity, under karma, our gratitude will be tested. Someday we must look popular prejudice squarely in the face while we defend the teacher and the teaching. And someday extreme sacrifice will be called for to keep the link unbroken. And this we shall seem to stand above as we stand on principles, stand alone as we stand on principles. To stand is to win the gratitude of a cloud of witnesses, seen and unseen. To fail, we will be seen as ingrates. Anyone can cultivate the feeling of thankfulness. Gratitude helps mightily to untie those knots of the heart, which make clear a channel for the flow of divine compassion, if the knots are smoothed out. Letter number 11 from Mr. Judge's letters that have helped me will be focused on for basically the rest of this talk. It was written for our benefit at a time when Mr. Judge's life was hanging in the balance due to a serious illness. The ideas that follow are from that letter. He wrote that it is natural for one to feel much depression, but why should you not live now as long as you can in the present body, so that in it you may do as much good as you can. Death is not the great informer or producer of knowledge. Death is only the great curtain on the stage. Complete knowledge must be attained in the triune man, body, soul, and spirit. When that is obtained, then he passes on to other spheres, which to us are unknown and are endless. While living as long as one can, one gives the self that longer chance. The Gita says, to raise the self by the self. We don't seem to be effective in doing that after the threshold of death has passed. The union of the Trinity is only to be accomplished on earth in a body, and then release is desirable. The living have a greater part in the dead than the dead in the living. The doubt as to success, which the living may feel, is morbid and needs to be destroyed. We should dare to try to live on and on, that we may serve masters as they serve the law. We are not to try to be chainless or to do any one thing in this incarnation, but only to know and be just as much as we can. If you accuse or doubt yourself, you then give that enemy of doubt a rest. Number 13. Rise then from any despondency and seize the sword of knowledge. With it and with love, the universe is conquerable. It is a great advance if we can, in the midst of physical suffering, grasp and hold ourselves calm and away. Yet also the body must be rested. Rest and let anxieties be dormant. A few moments reflection will show that we make our own storms. The power of any and all circumstances is a fixed, unvarying quality. But as we vary in our reception of these, it appears to us that our difficulties vary in intensity. They do not at all. We are the variance. If we admit that we are the stream of evolution, then each circumstance must be to us quite right. In no way other than carrying out such circumstances can we learn that calmness which Krishna insists upon. If all our plans succeeded, then no contrast would appear to us. Those plans we make ignorantly and wrongly, kind nature will not permit us to carry out. We get no blame for the plan, but we may acquire karmic demerit by not accepting the impossibility of achieving it. In occultism, even if you are ignorant of some facts of importance, you are not passed over. It has regard for no man and pursues its adjustments without regard to what we know or are ignorant of. If we are at all cast down, then by just that much our thoughts lessened in power. One could be confined in a prison and yet be a worker for the cause. So we should remove any distaste for present circumstances by looking at it all as just what you in fact desired. Then it will act not only as a strengthener of your good thoughts, but will act on your body and make it stronger. Thought interlinks with thought on all planes when the truth is the aim. We should keep up the aspiration and the search, but we should not maintain the attitude of despair or the slightest discontent. Surely we would know all were it not that some defects hold us back. Darkness and desolation are sure to be ours, but it is only illusory. Are there not the self-pure, bright, bodiless, and free? The daily waking life includes the trial of the body, so that it too may acquire the right condition. In dreams, we see the true and taste the joys of heaven. In waking life, it is ours to gradually distill that dew into our normal consciousness. The influences of this present age are powerful for producing these feelings. In this time of upturning, the wise man waits. He bends himself like the reed to the blast, so that it may blow over his head. So let us wait for natural changes, knowing that if the eye is fixed on where the light shines, we shall know what to do. We must wait until the hour is ripe. Unripe fruit gets ripe and falls or is plucked. The day must surely strike when we will pluck it down. When we are no longer troubled by vain fears or compromises, and when the great thoughts come near enough, we will go. We must all be servants before we can hope to be masters. Mr. Judge noted that he had been rereading the life of Buddha, and it fills him with a longing desire to give himself for humanity, to devote himself to a fierce, determined effort to plant himself near the altar of sacrifice. As he does not always know just what ought to be done, I must stand on what Master says, Mr. Judge says. Do what you can if you ever expect to see them. An adept said, number 15, follow the path they and I show, the adept meaning I, but do not follow my path. We are just to do what we can do, whether great or small, each in its proper place. It is sure that if we have an immense devotion and do our best, the result will be right for them and us, even though we would have done otherwise had we known more when we were taking that course of action. A devoted Chela once said, quote, I always found that which was done in Master's name was right and came out right. What is done in Master's name is done without thought of self, being the lower self. Number 14, motive is the essential test of our action. We must be serene and do what we can. Mr. Judge told the story of Ramas Farmir rushed off into Sikkim to try and find Master, and met someone who told him to go back and do his duty. That is all any of us can do. All often we do not know our duty, but that too is our fault. It is a karmic disability. 10,000 adepts can do us no great good unless we ourselves are ready. And adepts only act as suggesters of what possibilities there are in every heart. If we dwell within ourselves and must live and die within ourselves, it must follow that running here and there to see anything or person does not in itself give progress. We may consort with those who read holy books and are engaged in dwelling on high themes, but this should not be dwelt on as an end. It is only a means, and one of many. There is no help like association with those who think as we do, or like the reading of good books. The best advice may be to read whatever books tend to elevate yourself, like the Gita. Such books take on a life of their own, which changes the vibrations. Vibrations, number 15, is the key to all. The different states are only differences in vibration. We do not recognize the astral or other planes because we are out of tune with their vibrations. This is why we now and then dimly feel that others appearing at us, as if a host of people rush by us, not seeing us, and we not seeing them. It was an instant synchronous vibration. But the important thing is to, number 16, develop the self in the self, and then the possessions of wisdom belonging to all wise men at once belong to us. Each one would see the self differently and would yet never see it, for to see it is to be it. Seeing it might come as a flash or whatnot. Then there is a lower self, great in its way, and which must first be known. When first we see it, it is like looking into a glove. When we first see it, it is like looking into a glove, and for possibly many incarnations will do that. The mystery of the ages is man, even each one of us. Number 17. Patience is needed in order that the passage of time required for the bodily instrument to be altered or controlled is complete. Yes, our body instrument is changed as we think. Violent control is not as good as gentle control, continuous and firmly unrelaxed. A gentle current is better than a violent one. An opposition current is always provoked. If that which produces it is gentle, it will also be the same. This gives us the unaccustomed student more time and gradual strength. Every solution or situation ought to be used as a means. This is better than philosophy, for it enables us to know philosophy. You do not progress by studying other people's philosophies. We should not crowd ourselves, nor ache to puzzle our brains with another person's notions. We have the key to self, and that is all. Take it and drag out the lurker inside. You are great in generosity and love, strong in faith, and straight in perception. Generosity and love are the abandonment of self. That is our staff. We should increase our confidence, not in our abilities, but in the great all, which is ourselves. Thank you for joining us. Hope everybody has that great Thanksgiving. And I'll now open the floor for discussion or questions.
For me, it was very interesting when you spoke about vibration being key to everything. That it's really like the level you vibrate, that's how you're creating everything in that sort of vibration. And it's more than a mood or thought. And one of the hardest things is to change that vibration.
Absolutely.
And is there any suggestions how can we do it? Because literally we create reality based on our vibration. It's like one shift and the whole reality will shift.
Yeah.
But it's just so hard for us to wake up and feel different, vibrate different.
Yeah. I didn't see any magic solutions. If you want to call magic what common definition of magic is. It's hard work. And we have to live it, try to live it with our motive, helping and teaching others. And don't worry too much about where we're at this very moment. Just act as we think is the proper way to act in that moment, and the vibrations will take care of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That's about as good of an answer as you can give in a talk. Mm-hmm. It's something that we go out and we act in the world in a certain way, doing what is necessary for our fellow man, and thinking in terms of the masters, and we being masters because we are in potential. What would the masters do for the good of humanity? And do that. Try to do that as best you can with the inner self that you have. You have the inner self, which is potentially perfect. But wherever you're at with your toolbox at the time, you use those tools as best you can. Mm-hmm. Even if they are not considered the best tools, you do what you can with what you got. And everything will turn out all right. Mm-hmm. Maybe not in the short run, we might not see it in this life, but it will turn out all right. And we will, it's said that maybe 1,000,000 years from now, only masters will roam this earth. And that's our objective, is to elevate humanity in general, every person, every person has the potential to be perfect. And we have to work within ourselves to make ourselves perfect, but in so doing, we have to help others. That's the key.
Now on this, I wanted to share that yesterday we visited our trainer, and she's 80. And she was talking about the forest gardening, and she's planning to plant trees on her property, like chestnuts and fruit trees, and how she's going to do it. And she's 80. And to me, it was so moving when she said, well, I do not concern myself seeing those trees and the chestnuts. My job is to plant them, because I understand.
That's a beautiful
in a very pragmatic way. She said, I
Exactly,
don't concern myself seeing these trees. My job is to plant.
My job is to plant it. My job is not to prune the branches. It's to get the tree going. Somebody else can take over the trees at a later time. And maybe when I reincarnate, I'll have that job.
Yeah.
But, that's exactly the way life is laid out for us, whether we realize it or not. And if we keep doing that kind of thing, what that lady said, my job is to do this, my job is to help that little old lady across the street, or whatever we're doing at the time, we'll get there. And you cannot doubt that you're going to get there, because the masters say you do, the writings are all there, if you can just find them. I can't find them all yet, but I can find some of them. It clearly points the way in that direction. If you become selfless, the self of all, that's where you wind up. You're a master. Just a little job.
You said that what we should be doing is what's most necessary, every moment, right? How do you decide what's really necessity, what's most necessary? What is the basis for deciding on the most necessary action in time?
My immediate after-call pacifism is you got to go within yourself and do what you think is right at that time. So the answer is within yourself. And it depends, the action depends on the situation and what tools you have to work with. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we have any questions online? Or if you can ask friends there.
Any questions online, please?
Many people.
Is it muted?
No.
Yeah, please go ahead if any questions from the online audience.
I have a question on, do you see similarities between gratitude and what the Christians call grace? Like saying grace, being thankful for things that they have. Do you see a similarity between those two concepts?
Yes, but the spoken word externally is not recommended. The word, you can do that, and it's fine to do it, but you have to go internal with those words and work on yourself within yourself to raise yourself up, is what I'm trying to say. And that external process, that process of working with the germs of who we are, the elementals and so forth that make ourselves up, paying attention to each cell in our body. We can't physically do that objectively, but the idea is to try to raise up everything around us from the roots up. And even the roots, the evolution of the roots is within that process. After we become a body, this is just to its own interpretation of all the writings that I've seen, is that we're pretty fixed for this life. Our personality can change a little bit, if you want to call it that. Personality is not counted too much in this philosophy. But our personality can change a little bit. Our body will progress from baby to old age, like the normal body does. We can't change that a lot in our lifetime, or even from moment to moment. But if we pay attention to our essence, that will change. It might take a long time. I don't know what the timing is on this, but it will change. And as our essence changes, so does humanity. Because we sharpen our tools in that way. And I think that's the only way you can do it.
And that
It just takes a lot of work.
That's exactly the thing of previous talk on karma, that if our essence change, immediately karmically it affects everyone.
Exactly.
But if you uplift, everything uplifts.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what Theosophy does, is tries to instill this idea, which is very different, I think, than the typical externalizing of this, speaking, going out into a prayer suggests that somebody out there, somebody up above is going to help me. That's not going to happen. We have to help ourselves. So the answer to that first question, that question that we got just now, that's part of it.
Well,
It's not a problem, I think, to do an external prayer, as long as your motive is right. There's some of the finest Christians in the world are just on the right track, I think. Some of them are. But it depends on the motive. It gets down to that. I learned that in church, by the way. I first learned that in church. I was raised in a church, so I shouldn't be personalizing. I'm going to take this out of the talk, but
Now, on uplifting, again, I was watching YouTube on this forest gardening, and there was one person saying that I choose to retire not in a place with a beautiful view, but in a place that needs to be uplifted. Like, I will choose the place that's completely ruined in nature, and I will create something there. So that's where I choose to retire. So it's almost like what Theosophy teaches how to live. We don't choose the beautiful places in life, but places that need to be uplifted.
the beautiful is talked about a lot in this philosophy, and that's exactly the idea. We're not going to get where we need to be. In fact, this Theosophy is more or less boils down to it's always a work in progress. Even when we become perfecting, we still got work to do. So it's a continuing process of learning, of development, of evolution in the correct way. The Darwinian revolution is not, it's pretty material type teaching, but if we expand that to a spiritual type teaching, that would help.
Building on my previous question about how to decide what's most necessary, and you answered that we should use the tools available to us, and we should sharpen, those tools. Like, obviously, by taking birth on this planet, the best tool we have is our body. So, in that context, how do we sharpen, this tool to be most effective, in doing the most necessary?
Well, again, we have to look within ourselves. That body is not going to physically change so much over a lifetime, maybe 5 lifetimes, I don't know. But if we keep trying to do what is right, those tools will sharpen in time. We can't do it immediately. The way this student understands it, it's almost a waste of time to try to go out and learn some specific thing about, how to do magic, make stuff disappear. That's not what you want to do it. You want to do what's called Raja Yoga, which is mind principle, developing the mind. That's a good place to think about when we're talking about our thoughts become physically changing. That brain changes paths. And that, I think, is scientifically proven. I'm not a scientist, but I think that the path of your brain changes in your thinking process and your motive and so forth. So the body is kind of perfected now, is the way I understand it. But in terms of how to use the body, we're still working on that. And that's the sharpening of the tools that you mentioned. Yeah, we want to sharpen those tools, but our focus is not necessarily on sharpening the tools. Our focus is doing the right thing, as close to the right thing as we can every moment with the tools that we have. And they will sharpen.
And not using the tools in the wrong way. Because we all have the hammers and we all have the axes and not axing what does need to be axed.
That's right. That is very correct.
If we don't take good care of the tools, they may break before they
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And we can look at examples of that. It's easier to see what we can break than what we can sharpen.
Anything online? Let's see.
Whatever. Will you have anybody left online?
Tony, can you take a look what's online?
I think we do. I think I see a picture there. Okay, well, if we will just think about those things, and we'll probably come up with more questions along the way. Contact us, and we'll try to help you find an answer to whatever questions you have, or help you figure out a way for you to find the answer.
That was another thing that stayed with me, that we do not concern ourselves with philosophies of other people.
Exactly.
And beliefs, that we go inside of ourselves. What did we come here with to discover?
Exactly. Yeah. Don't go, even with the masses, don't do what they do. Follow the path they show. There is one path. There are many ways to get to that one path, but that path the masters show is there. It's invisible to us right now, but if we work at it, we'll get it. We'll eventually get it.
I was actually struggling always with that advice from Madame Blavatsky to read less and to reflect more on your own kind of wisdom and reflections, because we tend to read a lot of spiritual literature, good and philosophical literature, but how do you reconcile that advice with reading less and yet being up to speed with all the latest developments and new thinking in different quarters? Like I'm still struggling with that. Like, how would you interpret it?
I think that would be very personal in terms of how you use your time. It depends on what our opportunities are at the time. It's certainly important to study, but it says study or otherwise, study and otherwise. If you just study, you will improve your all processes, internal processes, but until we apply what we study and put it in action, we don't have it. So they go together relative to your question. We have to try to understand the philosophy, but we do that through both ways. Okay, well, if there are more questions, we have a few more minutes, but if we need to think about this and come back, you know where we are. Thank you everybody for joining us online and here, and we look forward to more getting together. By the way, this student funds, in fact, everyone should understand this. By getting together and comparing notes as we go, and it's suggested that we take a lot of notes as we have these epiphanies and things like that, that we periodically talk to each other. Hopefully we'll get to the point where we can talk to each other in person more as we get rid of the COVID. But that's, I think, very, very useful to a lot of people to go compare notes with each other. So physical meetings, until maybe we can see each other, if we can see each other online, the next thing better to see each other. In fact, the online has an important place because we can meet in a beautiful place like this, very fairly distant from many other parts of the world, and be with someone in another part. That happens all the time. I'm not sure that we have one online now, but we have a person from Minneapolis that joined us online quite a lot. So it's possible to do that because of technology. It's a beautiful opportunity technology is. And that's the younger folks particularly could help us with that. We certainly need help in many ways, and if you desire to do so, please speak up, and we'll figure out what we can do to work you in. This philosophy is important that it stays in the world. It will never die. It will be somewhere with the masters and so forth, and it comes and goes from time to time. In the late 1800s, it came out with this thing called Theosophy, which is Madame Blavatsky brought it as a spokesman for the masters. They will not typically appear to us in person, but they could typically be around us because they're so advanced. It says that we cannot even be in their presence without disintegrating. They're electronically charged. That's what I'm told. But bottom line is, they are all around us, and they do appear to us from time to time, frequently in a dream or whatever. If we're on the right track and we get their attention. It said that they look at it from the hillside. When that light shines, they get attracted to it, and they have their chelas and all that around them too. I don't know who they are, but that's our process, is to get to the point where we can at will be invisible or visible. It's incomprehensible to this student of the material age to understand that, but it said that we can do that. So that gives us certainly a lot of opportunity here to deal with. It's up to us to deal with it. And we can help each other too a lot. And today's, I think, was a big help, the questioning and so forth. Thank you very much for joining us, and we hope to see you next week on Google Meet, where we'll be continuing where we left off on the everything leading up to the poem to the secret doctrine. We must have some grasp, at least a pretty good grasp, of the poem and the three fundamentals of philosophy to really start to understand Theosophy. So please join us next Sunday, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay, have a
Thank you.
good one.